Would you just go over one more time, if we are not a republic nor a democracy, what are we to refer to this form of government as? And the answer came back common law government, but perhaps you can expound upon that just a bit. Thank you.
Oh, that's good to hear. Thank you. Well, somebody there either came up with it on their own or they'd heard me say it before. That means maybe I'm communicating something. We are a common law government, and we need to say it. Because if we don't say the words, and say them often, we lose track of that. And we have clearly lost track. I have a professor friend back east. I won't say what university, because if I said, he would be immediately identifiable because he's so strong on this point. He's a trust professor and written several lawyers. He's a lawyer's lawyer on the subject. Matter of fact, he was the consulting counsel when they opened up the Ben Franklin Trust. It was closed for, it was meant to be closed and grow. Ben Franklin put it in for the city of Philadelphia to be used for public works there. And it wasn't to be open for 200 years. He started with 200 pounds sterling. And of course, by the time they opened, it was worth millions or billions. I don't know, a lot of money. Well, he was counsel for that. And a lot of other things. But he makes the point that we've lost it, our common law tradition. We aren't saying it overtly, so we think that there's something new and special about America, but we don't know what it is. And if we say it's a republic, all we're doing is repeating what the pagan Greeks did. And of course, they were all for absolute government control. They were Babylonian to the hill, like Rome, like the Roman Church, like the Greek Orthodox Church. Ruled by a single will. Common law government is not ruled by a single will. It's a perpetual Mexican standoff between three gunmen called the three branches of government, and they're trying to wipe each other out all the time, trying to overcome each other, but they can't. They can't. I was talking to a lady 2 days ago, and where was I? I don't remember. Maybe I was on Roger's show. I forget where it is I say these things, because it's the constant activity of mine to talk about our common law tradition. It is the laws of nature, that first volume of our Declaration of 76. The laws of nature's God is the Bible. That's the meaning of those words, according to William Blackstone in his Commentaries on the Laws of England, published 1765, about the time, 11 years before our Declaration, and he identifies those phrases as referring to the two volumes of our common law tradition. The first is unwritten, lex non scripta, the second's written. Now, I don't believe, and I'm not naive enough to think that what I'm saying is going to become popular fare in the universities and schools of our nation. Could, but I'm not looking for that. I'm just looking for a few folk like you that will listen and say, I know the truth. I don't expect people to listen to you when you say it, but if a critical mass, just a few folk, actually understand this, God will use that to control everybody else. That's the way he does it, always, always. He never does it by majorities, ever. And some of you have heard me say the principle, I call it the Noah principle. Democracy is majorities. The Noah principle is God's principle. What is it? Now, I coined the term Noah principle. It's the principle that says when Noah went into the ark, he was in the minority. But when he came out, he was in the majority. That's the way God runs everything. You don't conform to him, he'll see to it that he wins. And you might not even know it, and other people might not even notice it. Some will. Those that have eyes to see and ears to hear will notice. I'm looking at the record of Noah, and I notice. I look at the record of the Bible, and I see it over and over and over again. Well, we are a common law country. We are a common law country. That means that the lawgiver, the final word down here on land, is the 12-man jury in individual instances, and that is the decision from whose decision there is no appeal. It says so even in our Constitution of the United States, the 7th Amendment. And that's for the federal courts. State courts in America have the same doctrine, but they don't talk about it. And because we don't talk about it enough, because comparative law, as we call it, the comparing and contrasting of the law of the land with the law of the city, Babylon with the city of Abraham, the city of God that we're to be looking for, that was not made with hands, that's the theme of the Bible. The Bible is the most significant law book men have available to them. It is a law of the land law book, not a law of the city. And the Bible is all about the trust settlement that God made with his people. We talked about it a while ago, and we said, be fruitful and multiply. That's part of that trust settlement. To do what? To cover the land, to take care of the land, to take lordship over the land, to cause the land to be productive and all that then it is for God's glory and our utter enjoyment. I'm sitting here looking at the livestock outside. We have 4 little critters this winter. Didn't expect to get them. Why do we have 4 new little critters in the herd? Well, because that's the way God made them. It's like he made us. Can't keep people from doing the things that make reproduction. The devil will try to get them to kill the reproduction and stop the reproduction and stifle productivity. Women cutting off their breasts. It's a fad. Like it used to be taking out tonsils. Sex changes. Men having their cords cut to their manhood. Anything to stop productivity. The devil. Abortion. Murdering babies. Tying tubes. You know what I'm talking about. Anything that would stifle the fundamental parts of the trust settlement of God. The old timers called it the covenant of God with his people, the covenant. Anything that would stifle that in any way is contrary to our common law tradition. Mutilization of parts of your body so you won't have to serve in the militia. That's contrary to our common law tradition and the trust settlement of God. The militia is the foundation of our, well, it's not the foundation. The family is the foundation, but the militiaman expands that and becomes the foundation of all government. The militiaman is to defend our country against enemies foreign. We have it right in our oath. Every office holder in America, enemies foreign and enemies domestic. We take the oath. I've taken that oath half a dozen times. I took it as a military man. I took it as more than once because I got out, went back in, then there was a mistake. I had to take it again. I was state's attorney for a short period of time. I took it then because the Constitution of the United States requires it. I took it when I became a lawyer because the Constitution of the United States requires it. I became an officer of the court. I had to take it again. And I remember every time. It was in different forms, but you said essentially the same thing. And as our Constitution points out, against enemies foreign and domestic. That is ancient oath. I've seen that oath in documents going back to the time of King Alfred the Great in the year 8. We're talking before the year 1000. That's a common law oath. Enemies foreign and enemies domestic. Enemies foreign, that means the militiaman is willing to take up arms against foreign invasion. Enemies domestic, that means the militiaman is willing to serve on the jury in defense of the law of the land. He's willing to take up arms in defense of the land, and to defend the land is to defend the law of the land, and to serve on the jury in defense of the law of the land and its integrity is to defend the land, because the two are inextricably bound together. Land and the law of the land. Not any law, not some foreign law from Babylon or Rome, the civil laws of the Roman Empire. That governs the whole world. That's not us, friends. Our liberty depends upon our common law. Our common law is the nexus that allows us to take this volume. Our common law is the volume that allows us to take this volume and put the rubber to the road, is that in individual instances to apply it. We are a common law country, not fundamentally a republic. Do we have a Republican form of government? Yes. Our Constitution says that. What is the Republican form? That is the legislative branch, period. And our Supreme Court of the United States has said that in their rulings. Well, they examined our common law tradition, and they found that to be true, and they've said it. Let's get back to our common law. We only have to worry about 2 volumes, friends. I'm a lawyer. That's all I worry about. I'm sick to death of regulations and codes, 10,000 pages of Infernal Revenue Code regulations, 30,000 pages of banking codes, administrative state about everything. What is that? That's not even legislation. That's the executive branch saying what they think it ought to be. Well, they don't have the legislative power. What do I care about? I care about true law. And if it doesn't conform to our common law tradition and our Bible, the Bible is the final court of last resort. In cases of apparent inconsistency between our common law tradition and the Bible is final. But to understand the 2 volumes isn't something you just pick them up and read them. I got it. That's not the way it works. No. The lawgiver of all lawgivers himself, the sovereign of creation, has to open your eyes. He has to illuminate your mind, and that only comes through quite a bit of effort. It's a process. Our common law is a process. You do it every day, like brushing your teeth. And if you don't do it every day, you're going to lose your teeth, probably.